So thank you so much for tuning in to the Underground Railroad. I'm Medea.
And I'm Tia.
And this beautiful, beautiful young lady, she came to me by way of God. I met her. We were at Pop Cheney's event for Juneteenth. I had a table. She came over to my table. We started talking about the slave mindset and the philosophy of modern day slavery. And I was like, hey, I need you on my podcast. And she was like, word, yeah. And then she hit me up in my DM like, hey, I'm the one you reached out. You know, I'm reaching out about the podcast. I was like, this is so awesome. Yes. Because when you put something out into the universe, when you tell God you want to do something,
He put it together.
Yes, he will bring it to you just like that. That's not the first time that happened, but we're here today. We're talking about modern day slavery.
Definitely.
So we just wanna jump in. So I was looking at some things about the modern day slavery, and it basically states that everybody is enslaved mentally if you are a part of a society, and just being a part of the society that we're in now, there's certain things that are placed on us that's like, you can't wear this, or you can't go outside naked. Like some cultures, it's okay to be naked. They walk around naked every day, but like in our society, it's like, no, that's frowned upon, like things like that. But it goes deeper too, especially in the Black community. A lot of the things that we are experiencing, it comes from slavery. And a lot of the things have been being passed down generation to generation. It's from when we first got here.
Right. Like colorism, for example. I feel like in the Black community, and not just the Black community, but in many
different cultures,
communities of color, you'll find that it's this separation about this lightness and darkness aspect. And that doesn't come from the culture itself, even though it's somehow embedded into it. But that actually came from when people oppressed peasants and slaves since the beginning of time, since the Mayans and the Egyptian times, and probably periods before that. But colorism is one of those things that is a mental consciousness that is passed down from generation to generation, and nobody even knows like the origins of it, or even ask themselves, like, what are the origins? Why am I thinking anything about somebody based on color?
Right. So, like in a dictionary, things like white is pure, white is the White House, and all these things that are explained with the word white in contrast to the word black. Like black is evil, black cats are bad luck. I seen a meme like,
man, black is beautiful.
Yeah, like I seen a meme of a black cat like, I'm not bad luck, a white cat started that rumor. And it was like so funny because it's like, yeah, who wrote this dictionary? Why is my black skin in here as something bad? And just those things being put on your subconscious mind as a child coming up, like, oh, black is bad, you see all the black people on the news committing crimes and things like that.
Exactly.
But I wanted to touch on what you said about the colorism, because I have talked to other people and I have read about colorism in like Asia and India. Like it has to do with people who are workers, like working outside, like she said, slaves, things like that. They get darker in the sun. Mm-hmm. So that's what they see as poor. Like people who have dark skin are poor because they're out in the sun. People who have lighter skin are more wealthy because they're in the house or they're in the shade, they're chilling, they're not working in the yard and things like that. So that's everywhere. That's like Mexico, Asia, India, like that colorism is all across the globe.
And it's embedded in beauty standards.
Yes.
Like in a lot of cultures, you'll find that the standard of beauty is somehow attached to whiteness or lightness. But that's a whitewashed mindset, because in ancient times, the origins was that the blacker you was, the more
and
beautiful
whose faces
you was.
do you see on those in those pyramids and
exactly. So there was a time when blackness and color was celebrated, even in religious texts. They'll glorify the bronziness of someone's skin or the copper tones of someone's skin.
And who do you think rewrote that history? That's why I say to people so much, it's like, where do you get your information? Look at where you're getting your information. Look at the things that you are reading and ask questions about it, because it's like, why do I feel this way? I did want to ask you something. So we're talking about just like that slave mentality and where it comes from and things being passed down. So, like, what is something that has been passed down that you think is affecting you mentally, or maybe it's not anymore?
I would definitely say is pride. Pride. I come from a very prideful family.
Okay.
It's like a gift and a curse because we're all so talented, we're creative, we have a lot that we can offer each other as family, and we also have a belief that we can somehow do it all by ourselves. And I feel like I struggle with that a lot, like just believing that somehow I'm just gonna make it, just me and God, that's
Right,
it. I don't need
right,
nobody at all. And in reality, you can't do anything by yourself. Like a simple conversation. I can sit and talk to myself in circles all day, but I'm not gonna gain as much from that conversation as I will from having a conversation with someone else.
Right.
So I just think pride is something that I struggle a lot with. And what about you? Like, what is something that you think was passed down generationally?
There will have to be so many things, but I'm going to focus on the one thing that I'm so happy that I let go of, and it was anger and just like being so okay with hitting someone if you're not getting what you want, or if they're not doing what you want them to do, or just engaging in fighting. Because I used to be like a big fighter from like kindergarten on. Like, even I was in college. I was way in college and I got into a fight with a guy, and I'm like, this is so ghetto, like. But it was embedded in me from an early age. Like, my family had that aggression and that anger, and it was just put into me. And even like my older brother, he's like 9 years older than me, and he used to just, I'm making you tough, like, just beating up on me and stuff. So it's like, I remember something, and I just be like, this is so crazy. My brother got into a fight in the yard. Some boys came and jumped on. I came out the house. I'm 8 years old, because my brother, he was 17 at the time, so I had to be like around 8. He's 9 years older than me. So I come out jumping on the boy. I'm hitting him. I'm biting him. He's like, she's biting me. I'm jumping in it like I'm helping my brother. I kid you not. They were so proud of me that day. They was like, yeah, Medea, she got it. And I just think back to that. Like, that was a teaching moment for them to be like, you're not supposed to be fighting or putting your hands on people. And they kind of like hyped me up. So I was like, okay. And I just like to fight. Yeah. And it's like, that's not, no, we can't be teaching our kids that. And then nowadays they'll put it on like, well, if somebody put their hands on you, you can fight them. So when that was said to me when I was a kid, so I would not never throw the first punch. I would never be the one that,
right.
But I would be talking that mess. I would make them want to hit me. I'm provoking them to want to hit me, and I see that in my daughter now. I'm like, oh, we got to cut this. We gotta stop that. Like, that's a generational thing that I feel like, I even preach a lot of times. Like, we gotta stop hitting our children. We got to start raising them like kings and queens, because a king and a queen is never coming down off their throne to hit anybody or to touch anybody. They got knights and stuff for that. But it's like, if we stop putting that into our children by like hitting them and spanking them, it's like, I feel like we could let go of that all.
Yeah, I feel like that wraps right into Dr. Joy DeGruy. I believe that's her name. She has a work titled Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and she talks about how this PTSS is like passed down to us from slavery because of the beatings that we used to receive from slave masters, and the treatment between like the field slaves and the porch slaves.
And when I try to tell people that, like, where do we get this beating of our children from? That's not our behavior.
Right.
Where do you think we get that? Stay in this place and you gotta do this and you can't do what they're doing. Where do you think that comes from? Slavery.
That's just another form of punishment that they use for control. And because that's what they use to control us, when we are fighting for that control with our kids and our family members, or even our friends, our sexual partners, you learn that you gain that control through
Yes.
punishment through violence, through beatings, literally. And I think that's something that a lot of us in the black community deal with. I mean, I got my butt whooped. We would think this was normal. So when you have DHS and child services and school counselors coming asking you questions about what's going on, all you know is what happens in this house stays in
Right.
this house.
Right.
And that's just a whole nother form
and nobody
of
even came to help
control
and,
and slavery. Right. So that's something that was passed down. Just like the colorism. That aggressive, violent behavior, that wasn't in our nature.
That wasn't never us.
Like,
they
we
taught us that.
helped feed, heal, and nurture entire nations of people. So that was never in our nature, but it's something that we grown accustomed to and then start embedding into our seeds.
And I cannot stand when people are talking about, like, especially right now with the Black Lives Matter, and I hate when people come in and they're like, well, they're not going to stop killing us until we stop killing us and this and that. And I'm like, wait a minute, 1 second. Who start killing who first? They brought us over here, started to kill us, hung us from trees, burnt us in front of everybody. As a child, if you're seeing this, if you're getting this in your subconscious mind, what do you think you're going to think? That it's okay to kill us, that we're nothing, that we're the minority, that they can do what they want. So then when we got that freedom, we did the same thing. So don't try to make it like we started this.
Absolutely.
Oh, the black on black crime. No, they started it. They fed it to us.
It's a difference as well. Yeah, I would say it's a difference because, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
But I would say it's a difference because when you have white on black crime, like, to me, that's strictly racial projected aggression. Like, it's simply because of your blackness that you're being attacked when it's from a person of no color, a non-colored person. But this black on black crime within our community is actually based on dramatic events that actually occur. And it's never simply because of a person's existence. A black person is not going to do a drive-by on a block just because there's black people there. I feel like it's unfair for those people to try and put those two in the same folder and say, oh, well, police killing blacks is the same as blacks killing blacks.
And the thing
it's not the same.
What black person has gone in and been on trial for killing someone and got away with it? A lot of black people in jail for things that they didn't even do. For killing somebody they never even met before. And I've seen the stories. I've heard the stories. And I see that, you know, people are getting out of jail now and they never did anything. They don't even know these people who they're being accused and charged. And it's like, how can you say these police are in any right to kill somebody just because they didn't comply or whatever is the case may be? Maybe, you know, black people are a little bit more aggressive. We just touched on that. We are a little bit more aggressive, but why?
Right.
And why do we think it's okay to kill our brothers and sisters, our black brothers and sisters? Because they've put us in a place that we are less than and a minority.
Exactly. And they stripped us of our true natures, our religion, cultures, and our social systems, because people of color are very communal by nature. We come together naturally. That's how everything in the village is done. So all of the individualistic agenda that's going on is just to feed capitalism, because the more separation you have, then the less things you can put in a pot together. So they're whitewashing the history, whitewashing the consciousness, and whitewashing the culture itself.
Exactly. I wanted to touch on one more thing that was passed down to me, and a lot is from my dad's side of the family, because my dad is very, very he's a little negative, and I see that in his sisters. And he talks to me about his dad, my grandfather, who passed away, and it's always like, you can't do that. We have to stop doing that to our children. We're making them feel inferior. We're making them feel like they can't be successful. We have to start building our children up. Like, you can do anything you want to do. Now, with God on your side, you can do whatever it is you want to do. Like, yes, you want to get that degree. You want to have this and that behind you, but don't ever say, well, you can't do that. You know, like that negative mindset, that is something that I feel like has been passed down in my family. And I had to tell both my parents that every time I say, like, oh, well, I'm going to open up this business, or, you know, we should do this. And they say, you can't. I say, wait a minute. Don't speak that on my life. Speak for yourself. If you feel like you can't do it,
right,
then that's fine. But please don't tell me what I can't do.
A lot of times that's what people are doing. Like, they're projecting their fears onto you. And once again, it's passed down. Like, our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents.
They were stopped at
great-great-great-grandparents. You had black slaves who made inventions, who created things, who were illiterate.
And it's like, no you can't reading, do that.
No books.
We going to take credit for this.
Right. When they take it and then put their name on it, one, is going to make you feel like, well, I'm not making nothing else. And then two, you realize that you're not going to get the credit that you deserve for anything, and that it can easily be taken away from you. So I feel like that was passed down from slavery, from masters to slaves, to embed in their mind that the best you can do in life is be a good slave. They literally taught this to the slaves through edited Bible scriptures to say that the slave that obeys thy master will enter into the kingdom of heaven. So when you embed something like that in people's consciousness to tell them the way to get to heaven is through being an obedient slave, then that's already inherently jacking up their consciousness and psychological framework altogether. Because every human being is born free. And that's what people don't realize. And during slavery, they didn't realize that they were already free. You're already free. You have free will. You don't have to wait for the law to say that you can leave. You can leave. You don't have to obey any order. You can resist. So even today, with modern forms of slavery, like in the education system, in the employment system, the prison system, the healthcare system, people believe that they have to do something, that they have to obey.
And that's because they have to do what the doctor says.
Right. It's things like non-compliance. There's things like contract and policy. And people don't understand that contracts and policy are forms of control. Like, once again, it's just back to whatever way that they can gain this control over the consciousness, so that people constantly forget their natural born freedom, which is the will, free will, and choice.
And I want to touch on something real quick too, the financial part of it. Like, being a slave to your job, being a slave to, you know, whatever is holding you. And like, if you're working paycheck to paycheck, you're being a slave to money. When I started to think different about money, like, what has your family passed down to you about money? And I touched on this at my first podcast.
Make sure y'all check that out if you haven't.
Just the, you know, how do you think about money? And it's like, as children, when you're mom and dad are like, no, you can't have this, or, you know, we don't have money and we're broke and this and that, and you start to pick up that language. You start to be like, oh, I'm broke, and this, and I had to stop. I had to let go of some of that language. I don't need for anything. I want, but God gives me everything that I need.
Absolutely.
And when you are thinking about like your financial situation, like, I'm gonna talk about this shirt right now, the reparations now. Yes, they owe us that money, and we want it. We want that money right now. We wanted it yesterday. We wanted it 400 years ago. But we're not waiting around for your checks. You know what I mean? We're going to get our own money. We're going to open up our mind, because there's no ceiling on what we can make and how much money we can make. And that's the problem. Like, my family put it in my mind, oh, you got to get a good job.
Right.
You know, I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own business.
Once again, it goes back into forms of control, deceit and manipulation. Right. When you're in school, they're not teaching you about how to be financially stable. They're not teaching you about how to grow your profits, they're not teaching you about what an estate is and how to have one.
They're teaching you how to be a worker.
And a lot of people die with no written will. So then what black people don't know is if you don't have a written will and you die, the state owns your stuff.
Yes.
Or your people going to be fighting over it. It's a lot of people who don't know economics because it's not taught, especially in inner city urban schools. And if we could just stop spending for, I don't, just give it 3 months. All this time we on quarantine, everything is shut down. If you can stack your bread and then find somebody else who's been stacking their bread and someone else who's been stacking their bread, and you put your money together, that pot is a lot bigger than any pot that the master is willing to give you. Yes. So it's like, until you realize that as long as you are accepting what's being offered to you, all you ever going to have is what someone else values you at. But until you self-determine your own value, then you can accomplish things that you didn't even think you could do.
And you have to speak that too. I tell people all the time is money. You have to start looking at your time as a value. Time equals money. So if I'm going to spend an hour doing this, is it worth my time? You have to start looking at how much your hour is worth. Is it worth $15? Is it worth $25? You have to put it out there and you have to speak it. I told God I want to make $10,000 a month in passive income. Passive. That means I'm not doing anything and I'm still making this money on my website, from rental properties, whatever. That's what I told God, and I'm working on that. And God is so good. He's awesome. But he'll do that for you. But it's like we were not taught that. We were taught superstition, like a lot of stuff that I know from when I was a kid.
The lottery.
Like stuff like that. It's like,
play them numbers.
Start spending your money on assets, not liabilities. Assets.
I just gotta say it. Back to the babies. One big issue that I see in our communities is that question of asset when it comes to our children. Do you see your child as an asset or a liability? Because in our community, you have so many people who view their children as a liability. Oh, well, look at how much risk you come with.
Risk much money you have to put.
Exactly.
And that's another thing.
But it's about understanding that your child is your greatest asset. Because your child is, one is your legacy. It's a human life, which none of us can produce on our own. So when you realize that your child is your greatest asset, that's how you break those generational curses.
And when you put the time into your child, when you put that effort into your child, you're going to get it back.
That's the investment.
And when people would laugh at me because I had my daughter in track, I had her doing acting, I had her doing tennis. I'm like, this baby going to be making me some money. You know what I mean? But they seen that as like, oh, that's not, like it was a bad thing. I'm like, nah, I'm like, nah.
But look at the
I'm
Jacksons.
trying to teach her how to,
They are successful.
Okay.
Black models of success.
And the parents were retired.
Black excellence. So, no shade on the Jacksons.
Nah, we love the Jacksons.
Stop canceling black people for every little stupid thing.
Right.
Because we need to work together to build these empires.
Yes.
Like reparations now. Okay, they owe us reparations and we all know that. But do we have to wait for permission to get our reparations?
Absolutely not.
No, we don't have to. We can demand our reparations. We can also build our own empires, like you saying.
Yes.
Becoming entrepreneurs, working together, saving that money instead of spending it. Instead of going and spending $200, $300 on a purse, maybe you can invest in an actual skill, like learning how to make a purse. Or learning how to flip a purse. If you have one already, let me see if I can sell this purse. And I'm not talking about a disgusting capitalistic mindset of economics either, because there is a such thing as business ethics. And it's not just about going and getting the money and establishing riches. Because if you're rich with no sense, no consciousness, then you might as well be poor. And you'll never reach true wealth. Knowledge is wealth. So when you come into money, you have to understand that there's some things that is going to elevate you and some things that will deplete you. So if you have a skill, let's say art or fashion, you want to make clothes or you want to make t-shirts. Right. If it's going to cost you $300 for your first dozen or bulk order, whatever you want to put out there, then save to get that. Do not save just to get the purse and still talk about how you don't have the money to invest in your business. Right. You still can't get it started because the bank ain't give you permission yet. Like, you don't have to wait for that.
And then you on GoFundMe trying to get...
Exactly.
get
like, we need to get those priorities straight.
Nah.
And as far as business ethics, the capitalists exist because they get something that costs a penny that's worth 1/10 of a penny,
right,
and sell it for $10.
Yes.
And that is not the type of business practices that we want in our community. So not. What I'm saying is, up your value, up your products. Don't just present and, oh, it's a black business, everyone support.
And what you put in is what you're going to get out.
Right, these high market values when it's really just not there yet. So let's be reasonable. Let's work together. And let's not wait for permission. Reparations now.
Make sure that y'all go onto my website, theundergroundshop.org.
What else? We got shirts.
Yes, I had to get her the shirts.
If you haven't got the shirts yet,
you got to get
tell
the shirts.
them where they can find the shirts.
Yes. You can hit me up. The Underground Railroad email at gmail.com. You can go on the website, theundergroundshop.org. You can get 10% off. Use code FRIEND10. You can get 10% off on the shirts. We have the Black Lives Matter. We have Black Queens Matter. I just put some swimsuits up. You know, it's hot out here. We got to get in the pool. The Black Queens Matter swimsuits. I have a couple of write-ups about the t-shirt, the Reparations Now, the 40 Acres and the Bentley t-shirt. And I just explained to you, like, what my thought process was behind those shirts, especially like the Black Queens Matter, Black Kings Matter, because I do have the Black Lives Matter. I had those like 5 years ago when it first started with the Trayvon Martin, and I'm still sad about that. I was not down in Florida. Peace. Rest in peace, Trayvon Martin. I boycotted Florida for at least 3 years. I didn't go there. I was like, nah, I'm not playing around. I was pissed off. I even hit up my friend down in Florida, like, y'all ain't even down there making no noise. Like, y'all ain't down there burning stuff down. Like, this was, he's like, you see how they treat us down here? Like, man, we scared. They scared, basically. But
you're not alone.
Yeah.
You don't got to be scared.
You ain't got to be scared. But so after I had those shirts 5 years ago, I elevated Black Kings, Black Queens, because I said, if you want to matter to everybody else, you have to matter to yourself.
Absolutely.
And so if you want to matter to everybody else, you have to matter to yourself. So you have to elevate, have the mindset of a king and a queen. We have to raise our children from the womb, kings and queens. You have to respect your children. You have to teach them how to respect each other, teach them how to respect other people. Because if we feel like we are elevated, we're better than certain things, certain aggression. Like I said, I had an anger problem. I would put my hands on people. I would hit people. I don't want to do that anymore. I have so much inner peace. As soon as I recognize the problem that I had, like, dang, I'm hitting my own child. Like, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to love my child unconditionally. I want to love everybody around me. Right. So as soon as we come to that realization and we're able to put that into our children, we're not going to be out here fighting each other in the streets. You know, we're not going to be out here attracting that type of energy, like white people don't like us or racism exists in our world. That's another thing that...
Reject it.
That's another thing that has been generationally passed down is oppression. We're not oppressed. You don't have to be oppressed.
We've never been.
You don't have to be oppressed. I am the majority. I tell this to people every time. I'm the
Absolutely.
majority as God's child. Yes,
Absolutely.
we are the majority. We are
And
loved.
the thing about race, if you really look into it, there is one race, and that is the human race,
Yes.
right? So even when we get into white, black, Asian, Indian, Mexican,
they made that up. It's
right. That's a
biological.
social construction,
Yes.
and we literally was only doing that since like the 12th century or something like that. I don't know. Don't quote me, but we just started this a few thousand years ago, and humans have been around for millions of years. So we don't need to hold on to it. We can reject it. Even like sometimes with politics, like I see a lot of people who lean on the idea that somehow it's through politics that we are going to get out of this struggle. And once again, that's another form of control, deceit, just to trap you into mental slavery.
Exactly.
To make you believe that you need some outside leader to tell you how to conduct your life, how to exist in your community, what you should have access to in that community, and what laws should govern your life. When really, if you dig within yourself and you do that work to reflect, you would come up with purpose. Amen. And you would know what intrinsically matters to you, what your true laws are, like what your true code is. Not some code of conduct that's been handed to you from this person or that person.
Yes, absolutely.
Even with this podcast, like, listen and take heed and then think about it. Like, was that bullshit? Was that real? What do I think about it? Think about the topics yourself. Do you feel like you're in some mental slavery? And if so, what type?
And if you need help, hit us up because we can help you get out of that mental slavery.
Definitely.
And I wanted to touch base on something real quick about what she said about the race and everything, because when I was in California, a friend of mine, a coworker of mine, she's from France, and I feel like this is why a lot of people from the outside countries do not like the U.S. They come here. She's like, everything is about race. You fill out a paper. You got to put your race, what race you are. What is, she's like, we don't have that, where I'm from. And it had to click with me. Like, that is something. Like, we have census. You go to, I used to work at the welfare office. You come fill out an application. You got to put black, white, Hispanic. If you come to fill out something for a loan, you gotta put what race. She's like, why is everything about race? And it's like, this is from somebody who's from a different country. So this is why they're like pissed off when their people are moving to our country and they're out here trying to start these wars, or they're trying to about the religion and everything. They're upset that they're coming here to be with us, where we think this is the land of opportunity here in America, when it's really the land of, like she said, capitalism, like slavery.
This is the land of slavery. If you have not checked your history books and read the origins of this country,
they're pissed off that people want to move here, and that's why they starting wars with us. Like, y'all got people brainwashed.
It has not been a free land since its construction.
Honestly, I want to go back to Africa. Let's go get Africa popping. Where's our ship? Where's our ship back to Africa? We taking the people who we invited to the barbecue. We taking y'all with us because we could go over there. I already seen that the Ghanaian president or somebody said that the African Americans are welcome to come and
that's what we need. We need more African nations and African American nations to join in. Like, we need that citizenship. We need
I'm ready.
Assistance.
I'm ready.
And we need to assist them as well. Like, there's a gentleman, I'll give you the name so you can put his information in the link or somewhere. But there's a guy in Africa who created a water filtration system. If you don't know, one of the main issues in Africa is lack of clean water and having access to that.
And didn't Jay-Z do something with that too?
I don't know what these celebrities are doing with all their billions of dollars. But this man, who was not a celebrity without billions of dollars, was creating this water system. And it's $150 US for this water system. But it will filtrate the water right from the land and a family of 5 can have water for 5 years.
Basically, we got to make all the money we can in the next 5 years, and then we got to take it with us to Africa. Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah. That's the
we got to go rebuild Africa.
Black enterprise, reparations now.
Yes.
The Underground Railroad.
We leading our people to freedom. We got to get out the dark. We got to get out the dark because we've been left behind. And it's not just about, honestly, this podcast is not just about Black people, because there's a lot of people that are oppressed. There's a lot of people that are depressed.
Absolutely.
There are a lot
of people who don't realize they are Black people too.
Oh,
that's a whole nother topic.
Don't do that. No, see now, because now you're using Black as the bad word.
No, I'm not. I'm saying it's a lot of people who don't realize that they too are Black, meaning beautiful.
I like that because it's like, no, swear, I hate when this happens. I really don't like when people are saying like say if somebody says this white person is ghetto or this is bad or they acting Black. I'm like, wait a minute. Why is it that when it's some bad behavior or some out of the ordinary behavior, you gotta associate that with being Black? No, honey, we are kings and queens. We came from royalty.
That's just a stereotype.
That's a stereotype. But the thing is, think about it like this: when slavery ended, where did we have to move to? We didn't have any money. And then when we did get our money, we got a little, our little change. We started to build up. When we went to go apply for houses in the nice neighborhoods, guess what? We got denied because of the color of our skin. So where do we have to move to? Into ghettos. We had to move to like places with the white low class people. So where do you think we learned that bad behavior from? We learned it from the lower class people that we were around. That's not our behavior. You don't know where that behavior came from. Don't ever associate being Black with being ghetto or being, ratchet and this and that. Like, that's not who we are.
It's like that's a whole nother topic too, but I just have to say it. Like, when I was in Tanzania, there's certain things about our Blackness that America portrays as negative, and they want to put forth a negative stereotype about it.
Until they start doing it. Home, then it's nice.
On the motherland, these things are celebrated. Like, I'm not going to lie. It was a woman there. She was an elder of the tribe. She was over 100 years old. And she was doing a drum dance. And at some point in the drum dance, she was twerking on the floor. And this was great-great-great-grandmom right in the motherland. So this was a celebration dance. It was an ancestral honor dance, and the media and whitewashing stereotypes have made that into a negative aspect. Rastafarian spirituality and marijuana. Rastafarians believe that the herbs are placed here for the man, and that marijuana is not a negative street or ghetto behavior. It's actually a spiritual act of getting closer to God, getting closer to ancestors, and raising your
look at them now,
vibrations and awareness.
Look who's making money off that marijuana now.
Absolutely.
And look where it's going. It's medical, pharmaceutical companies.
Billions of dollars.
Look at how tables have turned with that marijuana.
Exactly. So it's things like our braids were our identity.
Right.
And you could tell which tribe or group or neighborhood a person was from just by how their braids are styled, how they're done, and what they look like. So it's not that these things are ghetto. It's just that they placed it in a framework that was a parody. Like, they tried to make fun of these things that were valuable to us. So to claim that back, you celebrate your ratchetness or whatever you want to call it. But
I was reading about that too, about here in America,
the blackness.
They would
don't put it down.
Yes, the white people would have these shows in the blackface, and they would make these hypersexual black men, like they would make fun of us in these caricatures, and they would have like the mammy, and like they were showing like Aunt Jemima, like these these people like Uncle Ben, like Uncle and Aunt, whatever, Uncle Ben, Uncle Tom, that was a name that the white people would call you because they didn't want to call you Miss or Mister.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I was reading about that where it was
learn your history.
Learn where it came from. Like, they would be saying that we're lazy.
And they said that to make us work faster. How can you call a person lazy who's picking 80 bales of cotton a day? They say that to make you work faster.
And this was after they let us go as slaves. So, of course, now we're not slaves anymore. We're lazy. We're just stupid. Like, they would have little characters like somebody the Sambo. He was just, like, stupid and didn't know what was going on, like, happy-go-lucky person. These stereotypes actually got embedded into us. It's like, hold on, what came first, the chicken or the egg type of thing? It's like, they started this, and then we started to follow suit. It's like, okay, this is what they put on our mental and our subconscious mind. Then we started to portray those things. Right. The hypersexual man. Where does it come from that this man is making babies all over the place?
And a lot of these stereotypes, it depends on the context surrounding it. For example, if you just had an image of a person laying on a couch, right? You don't know if that person is lazy, right, tired, sick, dead, or in deep thought, meditation. So all of the things look exactly the same. Exactly. And that's why we need to train our minds to go beyond what's immediately observable and just looking at it and saying, oh, well, this looks like that, so that's what it is. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, then it's a duck. Yes. Because maybe it's not a duck. Maybe it's a chicken in a duck costume. Maybe it's a picture of a duck.
Right.
But not an actual duck.
Absolutely.
So to raise the consciousness, that's what I'm going to leave you with. That's my task for you until the next time you see.
Next time, yes.
Right.
And I wanted to
look at it and then question.
I wanted to end with this. So we were talking about the modern day slavery. We were talking about where it came from, basically generational curses. And I also was touching base on this podcast is not just for Black people. It's about anybody who has some type of mental chains that's holding you back. It could be addiction, people on drugs. Where did that come from? I talk to a lot of people who are on drugs. It comes from their family. It comes from things that they learned as a child. People who are depressed, people who are sad. Who gave you that sadness? We already talked about the anger that I used to have, and I let go of it. It came from my family. It was passed down to me, mostly from slavery, with the beating and the talking bad to, your children. So this is what I want to leave you with. We have to start raising our children better so the next generation can be better than we were, can know more than we knew. Give them the information. Give them the love. Our children, their first information about love, their first information about their finances, their first information about relationships, health, all of that. It comes from the parents. Even from the womb. If you're not eating right when you're pregnant, that's going to be passed down to your children.
Absolutely.
Allergies, all types of health problems come from nutrition. So if you're feeding your baby these GMOs, you're feeding your child stuff that is man-made. I talk about that all the time. Get organic stuff. Get your own garden. If that's too much for you to do, then, as a parent, you have to start making those sacrifices.
Right.
So you're teaching your children about the health part. Wealth. Let your children know they are wealthy. They can have anything that they want in this world. You just have to go out and get it. You just have to let God know what you want. Teach your child about financial things. Give them books that you didn't get to read when you were a kid. And the most important thing, I think, is love. Your child's first relationship is with the mom and the dad.
Yes.
Let your child know that they are loved. And another thing that was passed down to me is bad relationship, because I had my first relationship ever was a really bad one. I'm gonna talk about that some other time. But let your child know that they are loved. You love them every day. You might have to tell them. You might have to give them 5 hugs a day. Let them know that you love them no matter what. Unconditional love is so important for the child, so that they feel the love, so that they give the love to other people.
Absolutely.
So you are your child's first relationship. You are your child's first information source for health and for just even teaching them how to read and stuff. Like my daughter learned how to read before she went to school. She was like 4, I was teaching her stuff.
Right.
You have to teach your child before they even get to school and things like that. So I want to leave y'all with that, like just passing down these things to our children so that they can be a better generation. We have to stop the mental slavery. We have to start the prosperity thinking, the abundance thinking. We are not broke. We are not in poverty. We are not oppressed.
Right. Elevate that consciousness. Don't just sit stuck in the sand.
Yes. So thank you guys for tuning in. Check out the undergroundrailroad.org.
Yes.
Look out for my girl Tia.
The Underground Railroad. You can find me on Instagram, Tia Clipper Hands. That's with a Z, not with a S. And yeah, hopefully you see me again on the next episode or another one as long as she'll
Definitely want to have her back. Check her out. She's going to be having her own podcast. She's going to be starting that.
Yeah, be on the lookout for that.
Yes, we got big things popping.
All right, and this is what we doing. Blacks collaborations.
Yes.
We didn't get permission from nobody to do this.
No, we just set it up. I was like, I want to do the podcast. She is, and another thing that she had said something about the, what did you say? What your family passed down to you?
Oh, Pride.
I had no problem with her saying, "Hey, come to my house. We got the whole studio." I said, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll be there." Like I just showed up, and she had everything for me. This is a blessing right here.
Yes.
Blessings.
Same to her. Medea.
Open up your mind to the blessings. I was telling her, I used to be like, somebody asked me, I need help. No, I got it. I don't do that anymore because God told me anything that anybody can do for you, no matter how little, no matter how big. If she said, I got this Benz for you, I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't accept that. Oh, really? Thank you so much. Like,
I know that's right.
Yes, you have to accept everything. I was listening to that. I'll put some links in too. I'll put some links on my last podcast, like some of the things that I listened to that actually opened up my mind to certain things. It's like, if somebody give you a dirty shoe, take it. Be grateful. Thank you so much.
Right.
A man who didn't have a home, he's asking me for a change, and I was like, I don't have anything. And I usually keep money for people who ask, because God said if somebody asks, you give it to them. Don't matter. We don't know if you got it. Give it to them. It don't matter what they're gonna do with it. You know why you gave it to them.
It could be a test too. Y'all saw Cinderella story. That's a true story, by the way. Not Cinderella exactly, but if you learn the history and read mythological fables, that story is real and it's old.
I believe in all of that.
About the queen or king posing as a peasant or servant to test the loyalty of his kingdom and test his princess or prince before they give them the whole kingdom. They want to know what type of leader they'll be.
Right.
And if they turn away that peasant, guess who ain't getting the seat?
Blocking your blessings.
Right. There you have it. I feel good. How you feel?
I feel so awesome every day. Every day I wake up, I'm thanking God. I'm grateful that He even got me up. You have to keep that energy I'm so grateful. That's just...
Yeah.
Yes.
Episode 2, The Underground Railroad.
So thank you guys for tuning in.